Welcome back, friends. Now let's design and build a forensic corpus. Let's understand how we can do this from raw text to investigative evidence. Friends, let's try to do how we can turn our everyday language into investigative power. I welcome you to this particular session. In today's session, we shift from understanding what corpus linguistics is to actually learning how to build it. This is a mechanical process in which we will try to understand how we can build this corpus, what components would we need for this. Friends, a forensic corpus is not just a technical box of files. It's not. It is a living data set, curated with intention, precision, and investigative vision. So it ought not to be done blindly. It comes with its own characteristics, its own norms. Imagine taking a raw or chaotic language, WhatsApp message, confessional note, ransom letters, helpline transcripts, and gradually shaping them into a structured analytical resource. Let's begin this journey today. First come first, choosing a purpose for your corpus. What is your purpose? What is your aim and objective behind this corpus? Every corpus begins with a purpose. So you must analyze, are you trying to identify authorship? Or are you going to focus on detecting the deception? Or you want to compare the threat messages? Or maybe you are interested in analyzing hate speech? Or you're focusing on examining the witness testimonies? The purpose determines everything. The type of text you collect, the metadata you record, the structure you build, and the analytical tools that you use decides the fate of your corpus. So before collecting a single sentence, before trying to record anything, first determine what is your purpose. Define your investigative question just like you do in any research. Step 2, collecting relevant texts ethically and systematically. Now in this next step, you have to gather texts that represent your domain because you have already determined your scope. For threat corpus, collect the actual threat messages, warnings, intimidation notes, coercive emails, and abusive DMs. We know that sometimes in social media we receive such DMs, direct messages, in which you may find such kind of language. For a fraud corpus, you can gather transactional messages, explanations, denials, offers, negotiation chats. But in all senses, collection must be ethical. That we must not forget. And therefore, we have to remove the personal identifiers. We have to follow just legal guidelines, maintain confidentiality, also ensure that the consent is taken wherever it is required. Each text must have clear metadata, date, source type, author status, known or unknown. All these contextual details must be recorded. Then stage number 3, cleaning and preparing text for analysis. Friends, in reality, when you try to do this kind of corpus, you may get raw data. And from that raw data, you have to remove the noise. Now, when I say noise in terms of emojis, timestamps, signatures, repeated forwards, non-linguistic symbols, you have to remove these impurities and clean the text that does not mean altering meaning. It means removing elements that interfere with analysis. For WhatsApp chats, remove contact names, repeated media icons, contact numbers, and redundant missed voice call lines. For emails, remove the headers unless they are matter for authorship. A clean corpus ensures accurate frequency notes, concordance lines, and pattern detection. Step number 4, annotating the corpus, adding intelligence to your database. Friends, annotation is where the corpus becomes intelligent. Herein you label the linguistic features such as pronoun usage, tense patterns, sentiment shifts, dialect indicators, speech act categories like apology, threat, or denial. So this categorization help in segregating the things. And therefore annotation helps you detect the pattern. For example, threat messages may overuse second person pronouns, deceptive statements that may reduce self-reference, and extortion letters may favor imperative verbs. Annotation turns raw text into behavioral map. Next step is structuring the corpus into subfolders and categories. Your corpus must be organized clearly. If you are building a corpus on online harassment, create subfolders such as direct insults, implicit harassment, sexual threats, identity-based abuse, and conversational escalation. So here you have to be vigilant what kind of raw data you are receiving and how you are segregating them. You may use it by your own purpose, by subdividing through your own convenience. For legal testimony corpora, divide by witness types, event phases, or emotional intensity. Now this segmentization you may do by your convenience. This structure determines how efficiently you can compare, search, and interpret the data. A messy corpus leads to messy conclusion, and therefore, if you want to maintain the accuracy, the segmentization and structuring is utmost important. Next important step is using of tools. For example, wordsmith. Friends, once your texts are ready, then you may consider using tools like AntConc, Lanxbox, and Wordsmith. This may help you explore linguistic behaviors. These tools can generate frequency lists, keyword lists, concordance lines, collocations, and dispersion plots. These visual and numerical patterns help identify the authorship, deception cues, emotional peaks, lexical habits, and narrative inconsistencies. Friends, you don't need programming tools to do all these things. All it needs just curiosity and patience. Now let's take an example of a case in which you are building a suicidal note corpus to distinguish genuine notes from fabricating ones. Here you are studying suicidal notes, how these are authored by the person genuinely, or it is a fabricated note in order to evade, in order to hide the perpetrator. Here you may found consistent differences. For example, genuine notes used more first person pronouns, I, mine, etc. It may have emotional vocabulary, the pain that a person may have undergone before committing the suicide, and rational terms that may be used in it, while fabricated notes use more explanations and external reference that may not lead you to the intention of suicide. This corpus helped investigators detect staged suicides. It demonstrates the immense value of corpus construction in life and death scenario. Let's take another case example. If you are designing a corpus of ransom message for pattern recognition. In another study, the ransom messages across decades were compiled into a corpus. Now here, what kind of patterns do we get? Consistent structuring of demands, specific modal verbs indicating coercive level, intimidation. Sometimes there might be some politeness strategies, but that is used ironically. And sometimes the recurring lexical choices like safe return, cooperate, don't involve the police, don't try act smart, etc. Such corpus helps investigator decode new ransom notes quickly by comparing them with established linguistic behavior. So friends, understand how in a case the trends of societal or these kind of ransom notes can help you understand how the language has evolved, how the new players have taken entry into the crime, or how the pattern has changed, and that may lead to the newer kind of consequences. Let's understand why every investigator should use or build his own mini corpora. Friends, in a case, in a phase of investigation, in phase of collection of evidence, every small database provides insights. A 50 text threat corpus or a 30 text fraud corpus can reveal patterns in deception, intent, and authorship. But for that, you have to broaden the database. So building a mini corpora makes you more observant. Your intuition becomes sharp. You begin noticing unusual vocabulary, emotional drift, and narrative strategies. This corpora sharpens your ability to interrogate the language with scientific precision. So the idea is not just to compile the database, but sharpen your capabilities to evaluate that database. Both go simultaneously hand in hand. Ultimately, we must also understand ethical guidelines in corpus design. Friends, this is definitely a responsibility of the investigator. There comes ethical responsibility because in the courtroom, we ought not lead to the injustice by resorting to the terms or methods that are not humane, that are not legal, that are not ethical. And therefore, we have to respect the confidentiality, anonymize the data, and safeguard sensitive material. Ethical corpus building ensures the trust, protects the victims, maintains the credibility of forensic linguists as a scientific discipline. We know that there are provisions in criminal law where victim's identity ought not to be revealed. Now let's understand how corpus building can lead you to the justice. Let's see the bigger picture. Friends, a well-built corpus transforms language evidence into courtroom-ready insights. Because we know that in a courtroom proceedings, the time matters. You actually get a very less time to explain more of the things that you may want court to consider. And therefore, judges and lawyers, they trust the patterns and not just impressions. When an expert shows that linguistic behavior is consistent across hundreds of texts, that evidence becomes irrefutable. Such witness can pass even the cross-examination. And therefore, such corpus building strengthens the justice by grounding analysis with measurable truth. It is a quantifiable thing that even a judge can have first-hand and check how that particular analysis has reached by the researcher or by the expert. Friends, now you hold the blueprint, a literal blueprint, how to build a corpus. Thank you for joining this hands-on session. You now understand how to construct a forensic corpus by step-by-step analysis. In the very next video, we begin exploring keywords and learning how to dig into your corpus and uncover linguistic fingerprints hidden beneath the surface. Thank you very much.